So we're going to get to some poems here. I got 3 of them. And we talk about stories. These all kind of like link to each other. So this is a story in and of itself. It's called This first one is called PTSD. PTSD. Post-traumatic stress disorder. Prone to serious depression, pain that seldom dwindles, processing the same day, plaguing the soul, drowning, playing the sounds daily, poor time, seem definite, pessimism that seems deadly, perpetually torturous, strikingly demonic, passion terminated, seemingly destitute, pouring tears streaming down, perusing the sorrowful darkness, photographic, the static dimension, pass through Satan's doorway, past the sour diesel, prescribed 37 drugs, Pilsner, tequila, sangria, diazepam, parched, taste sullied, dry, pariah to society, derelict, prone to steady decline, praying that screams dissipate, prone to suicide, damned, primordial threat, safety diminished, peace threatened, seemingly dead, passion tranquilized, sudden demise, past the summit, dropping, plummeting, the soul deadens, praying that solitude dissolves. Broken. The world may never know. Transitions through time have made hearts harder, darker, and frail. One may never know when circumstances are unbeknown to he whose heart has not budged toward a sense of compassion. He wants to share, but doesn't know how. He is broken. He is a man who never was in combat, but felt like an army of one as a whole and not part of a unit. One may never know when the soul next to him on a train is one who has a damaged heart. The bystander may never understand that the pain they share is similar. Areas can be congested sometimes. It is the type of congestion this man may only wish upon those is caring about his information without giving a shit about him. Sometimes they are only screams. Some hear screams in the middle of an otherwise tranquil night. Sometimes they are screams only he senses. A lost relative, a lost friend, or a way back to security when a blanket is replaced by a gun. He may never know if it will ever be used or know the purpose of even owning one. He may never know if a bullet can replace a damaged valve and potentially attach itself to a self-fulfilling prophecy. Sometimes bloodlines need transfusions. He needs a sign that he is not alone. He needs a potential to let go of grief. He desires to cry on a shoulder that is not attached to a highway. Sometimes stories are morose. Sometimes stories are a morass. And one may never give a damn about a temporary glance. Light needs to be borrowed, whether it burns a cigarette or brightens an outlook. He may never quit his addictions. He may never abandon the habits until the day he dies. He may never realize he metaphorically died ages ago. Some may never know if the person next to him attends Mass and needs more than a handshake. He could see it as a superficial gesture and would never think to share his true nature when clammy skin encases mammoths of mediocrity. The desire for happiness in his world, in some senses, is a dream in which cracks are inflicted on the metal pipe rather than through the esophagus. Like the pipe, he is fragile. He is a loner who hates being alone. But truth be told, some streets need attention. Some avenues of conversation are valued more than gold. Some boulevards are difficult to maneuver, and sometimes a fender feels like a fist. He has hesitated to reach out under the guise of never knowing the sense of sadness he might convey. He fears his heart may get arrested, as sometimes we face a crime when the heart is neglected. Sometimes the crime is punishable by death. He wants his heart to stay open without needing a scalpel or clamps, and the exact same pain threshold is exceeded, and proverbial morphine through veins is the only fix. I may never know. You may never know. He may never know, she may never know, it may never know, we may never know, they may never know. Who the fuck even really knows? Knowing why is half of the battle. Knowing how a broken man can heal is different. He can be fixed, but the cracks in his soul are still visible. They will always remain, and in this respect, he is not alone. Lonely people need to find one another, and perhaps they too experience excruciating anathema, and perhaps one of them is the person sitting next to him, and perhaps the entire population of a given train is like blood scattering within a cardiac membrane, and perhaps the line between the aorta and the jugular has been derailed. We suffer in silence, only to realize sooner rather than later that the feeling of loneliness is something we will always know. For when the world eventually ends, the documentation of loneliness will outlive the roaches, and at least those roaches will know how to form a community. This last one is called And the Sign Says. Starts out with a song. It was the 3rd of June, another sleepy, dusty Delta day. Hey, I was out chopping cotton and my brother was baling hay. And at dinner time we stopped and walked back to the house to eat. And Mama hollered out the back door, y'all remember to wipe your feet. And then she said, I got some news this morning from Choctaw Ridge. Today, Billy Joe McAllister jumped off the Tallahatchie Bridge. On the X10 crossing the Verrazano, I saw a sign that said, "Life is worth living." Underneath the credo was the phone number for life, and at the suicide prevention hotline provided by New York City. Scenery changes to underground where subway trains are electrified by the grid, where the edges of platforms need that same sign. I could have been a statistic. I could have hung upon the yellow circle with the black R like fuzzy dice, gambling with my life as if the train was a solitary bullet in the game of Russian roulette. Developments of subway casualties would be noted in surveys, exposing blankets of trauma by both jumpers and strap hangers. Non-profit organizations might have commemorated my fatality anonymously in a bar graph, had that attempt been complete. And many ignore that corny credo entering the hearts and minds of those wanting to intentionally transition between earth and ether. Now consider the Emerald Tablet, the doctrine of Hermetic alchemy. That which is above is like to that which is below, and that which is below is like to that which is above. Heaven and hell, bridges and tunnels, Eros and Thanatos, the blessed and the damned. A will to die is always greeted with an easy and accessible method, and a will to live comes with the complexity derived from avoiding said method. I think of Tennessee Williams' play, The Glass Menagerie, remembering how Tom Wingfield was terminated for slaying stanzas on shoeboxes, and I must follow suit in my quest to avoid fatality after 17 minutes pass and another suicide commences. The movies will maneuver my mind and manifest melodies. The moon will motivate my messages. Amid the cranial chaos, I need to be that selfish fucking dreamer. I need to dance with El Diablo in the catacombs of opium dens in Gehenna. But then, my family enters the forefront. The entropy expires. And the dead don't seem so lucky. But with the truth of certainty, and the certainty of truth, the sign that you should live should be in every place one chooses to die. Thank you.